Welcome back to Donington Park, Leicestershire, the oldest continuously operating circuit in the UK. It's hosted motorsport since 1931, and after many years of incredible motorsport, today it is the Time Attack Final. Now we're going to speak to Ross Walker, who is leading the Club Two-Wheel Drive Championship.
So now I'm having a bit of a chat to Ross Walker. So Ross, can you just tell us a little bit about the car?
Well, this is obviously a BMW M4 2018 model X Palmer Sport. So it was one of their old driving school cars, which me and a few friends bought when they'd finished with them or disposing of them, and just made an ideal sort of track day car. And coming back from 2018 when I used an M2, I thought this would be an ideal upgrade to go into the next class, and so far seems to be.
What's different about the Palmer Sport cars?
Basically just a stock car with a roll cage. They had upgraded brakes, but sort of more or less a stock car with a few upgrades on it, so it's pretty ideal for track work, really.
And how's the season going for you? It's going well so far, right?
Yeah, can't complain. I mean, it's been a fairly sticky start. With the Cadwell was really wet and got called off. This car unfortunately had an issue, so came back for Brands Hatch, where managed a double win at Brands, and there's some great competition in our class, so it's all wide open at the moment, but really enjoying it.
Yeah, so you've got some really close competition with David in the Porsche GT3.
Yeah, David's definitely no slouch, and I'm having a lot of fun chasing him, and I hope he's having a lot of fun chasing me. And there's a lot of other quick cars in our class as well, so kind of what makes it so fun, really, that there's a big field in our class, and there's been no single leader throughout the season, so it's kept it really interesting.
And how are you looking forward to today? How does the track suit the car at Donington?
I think it will suit the car. I've not done like loads of laps around here, so it's I think it is a track where if you've got a lot of knowledge. I came up with a friend of mine the other day and just did a few laps, and I think that should help today, because I had a bit of time to digest where I was going wrong, and also watching Luke Clayton's videos as well when he was learning to drive his GT3 here. It's been really useful.
And is there any kind of particular tactics you've got? Do you just go out full out for the whole 20 minutes, or?
Actually, that's a really good point, Susie, because this car, actually with me in it, is 1,700 kilos. So it's very much a tactical game, being able to manage the tyres with the track space, and you need to get a good lap out this car. You need everything to come together, because you've basically got a couple of laps once the tyres are up to temperature, and then you're going slower regardless. So there are tactics, but you can't always guarantee you're going to get the space that you want to do the lap that you know is in the car. So it adds to the excitement and the frustration when you don't get what you want.
Well, good luck out there. Thanks for talking to us today. Hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Susie. Bye.
Great to hear there from Ross Walker, and it will be really interesting to see Ross Walker and his closest championship rival David Dyson shortly. Now, if you haven't yet been to a Time Attack event, be warned that it is incredibly addictive, and you might find yourself on track before you know it.
So I'm chatting with Clive Hopwell this morning. So Clive, can you just tell us a little bit about your car and what class you're in?
So we've got the Mini Cooper S, and we're in the Clubman class.
And just tell us a little bit about your history, because this is your first season in Time Attack, right?
Yeah, so I've actually never done any racing before. We know Simon from Time Attack. We do a lot of trading for Time Attack over the last couple of years, and he keeps saying to me, get into racing is the best thing to do. So then we bought the car, and this is the first season we've done and first lot of racing.
But and if I understand correctly, you've never been out on track before. You've never done any track days?
No, never been out on track at all until Time Attack.
So this is a real baptism of fire then?
Yeah, it's opened my eyes a little bit. It's good. It's great.
How's the season been going?
It's really well. It's the first time, like we said, we've been round to Donington and stuff. Favourite track for us so far is Anglesey, but I'm hoping this is going to be the best one, because we only live like 20 minutes down the road, so it'll be great.
So, and it's all a learning experience for you then, if you've never been on the tracks before?
Yeah, it's a lot of learning. I'm going to try and get out with some different drivers towards the end of the year, so we can learn a bit more about the tracks.
And how are you finding the car?
Yeah, it's good. I don't really know too much about it to start with, and we're learning each time we go out on it. So
And just how's the time attack format for you? Because it's a little bit different from normal racing anyway, so how's that going?
Yeah, it was a bit weird. When we first went out on the track, there was a lot of cars on there, so it was a bit like, well, didn't know if we were in the race or trying to get out of the way and stuff, but like, now we're getting a lot more confident with the car. We're doing all right.
And do you just go out there for the full 20 minutes, or do you kind of like, do you do hot laps and then cool downs?
Yeah, so we're doing the hot laps and cool downs. We had a bit of a problem in Anglesey because we were going around the track and the accelerator pedal fell off. So we didn't make it around the full circuit on the first, I think it was the first session. But then since that, we're all right. We've got some cable ties.
Is the cable tie back on now?
No, we've got it all back in properly now.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thanks for chatting us today. Good luck.
Thank you.
So I can't even believe that Clive didn't even do track days before he entered straight into time attack. And I guess that's the great thing about having all these different classes, because there is something for everyone, every class. And speaking of something for everyone, Susie caught up with Steve Reed, who has driven and competed in basically anything with an engine.
I'm chatting to Steve Reed. So, Steve, you're in Club Pro, four-wheel drive, I believe, with your Evo.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the car?
The car was evolved just from a track car, and over the last 5 years we've sort of built it up into what it is now. You know,
Definitely not just your average track car anymore.
no, not now. APT did all the mechanical side, and I've done the rest of it. Yeah.
And you have quite a history in motorsport anyway, don't you?
Yeah, goes back longer than really I want to remember. Back to the 70s, I drove Mark II Escort for Tyre Services Great Britain and Goodyear in the British Championship and Castrol Autosport Championship. Yeah.
Amazing. And how does that compare to something like time attack?
Well, this car is obviously totally different. You know, it was a two-wheel drive Escort. Forrest, on the loose, drove it more sideways than straight. Yeah, just great fun. Had a great time with it. And then retired from that in 1982.
And have you been racing all of this time, or?
Always been involved with motorsport. I went from that to motorbikes a bit, and then I went to jet skis on water.
Oh wow, so you're just anything with an engine?
Yeah, anything with an engine, yeah. Raced in the European Championships, qualified for the World Finals in America.
Oh wow.
On the jet skis, yeah. Yeah.
So now more at home on the land, or?
Yeah, well, went from them to go-karts a bit, and then back into my nephew, Phil, let me drive his Evo, and I had a drive in that, and on the way home bought one off eBay.
Oh wow, so Phil Reed is your nephew then?
Yeah, Phil's my nephew, yeah.
So he's responsible for getting you into time attack?
Yeah, my wife has never forgiven him.
Brilliant, yeah, well thanks for talking to us so much today. Good luck out there.
Thank you, thanks very much.
He really has done it all. And someone else who is familiar with two wheels and four wheels is faster driver Natalie Brooks.
So here with Natalie Brooks. So how are you doing this morning?
I'm okay. I really like this track, so I'm quite excited for today.
So this is your home circuit, right?
More or less. Well, it's the closest one. There's not many circuits around where I live, but yeah, I've never raced here, but I've done a few track days here, so yeah, exciting.
So you're hoping for a good result today then?
Hopefully, yes, because I think every round we've had a slight issue with the car, so this is the one. This is going to be the round, so.
So yeah, Anglesey, you didn't have much luck at Anglesey, did you? So can you tell us a bit about what happened there?
Yeah, so warm-up was fine because just literally just going round to learn the track, and then practice. Yeah, it felt a bit funny. So like my steering wheel was in a slight angle. I'm like, oh, this is a bit weird. Anyway, I just thought I'll just drive round normally, and then I saw Ross, and I'm like, oh, I'll just chase him for a bit, and then I couldn't. Like it wouldn't turn right. It was really slow and turning. I thought, oh my god, there's something wrong with the car. And then as I was coming down like the corkscrew. Yeah, the full entire car just snapped left. So I just like slid down the corkscrew, but I perfectly timed it well, so I just rolled right into the pit entrance. So it's like I was already there, like right next to the marshal's post, so I was quite lucky really. But
And what happened? Did you snap a tie rod end?
yeah, it was a track rod end that went on it, and yeah, it kind of twisted itself off. But we've replaced both of them, so shouldn't happen again.
How does it feel being the only woman out on track?
You know what? I don't actually notice, to be honest. I see myself as one of the lads anyway, so I don't mind it at all. I'd like more girls in it, but honestly, I don't mind it. Honestly, it doesn't bother me at all.
It's a great atmosphere around the pits as well, isn't it? Everyone's super friendly.
Yeah, because no one treats you like a girl on track. That's probably why it's a lot easier. Everyone treats you equally. Like, they probably do, like, slightly, but they don't say it to me anyway, so it don't bother me.
Well, hopefully we can see more women out on track in future.
We need some more women out here.
Brilliant. Well, good luck out there today.
Thank you.
And there we go. So our final, just to clarify something, this isn't the final time attack round, by the way. This is the final session at Donington today. And actually, so Susie has also managed to explode up the pit lane and is joining me. There you go, Alexi Wood and Susie Wallace now providing the commentary for the final session of today. Again, just to remind you, for Donington, similar to Brands Hatch, we have a bumper field here in the first session. Clubman Plus, Pocket Rocket, Club 2-wheel drive, and Club 4-wheel drive. And as you will see the lap times coming up on the left-hand side of your screen, they will be separated by class for your viewing convenience. And we heard from Natalie earlier on. You can see her there poking out in that black F80 chassis BMW with those headlights on. And just some final preparations taking place as we get ready to unleash the cars onto the track. You see the marshal holding up the flag. There we go. The green flag is waving. So the session is now live. David Dyson at the front of that queue, just ahead of Sean Wheatley in the Perron Audi TTRS, who we heard from a little earlier today. David Lawrence in that queue as well. Russ Walker in the BMW M4. Andrew Kime, who we haven't really seen a huge amount of today in that number 45 Barn Work Motorsports Citroen Saxo. And there we go, everybody just making their way back out onto the track. David Dyson at the front of that queue, perhaps strategic there, just able to benefit from that clean track space, because as we heard, the fight is very much on between Russ Walker and David Dyson, both in their 6-cylinder rear-wheel drive turbocharged German track beasts. Let's see what the final will give us then. This is where the full points are awarded for the finishing position. The qualifying session awards half the amount of points, and the final, if you do well in the final, you get the full amount of points. There's a lot of points up for grabs if you do well. David Dyson then getting out of the way. Sean Wheatley looking keen to get cracking straight away. And David Dyson just yielding that track position there. My understanding is that the sessions won't be running to the full 15 minutes. So the timer at the top of the screens, perhaps just take that with a pinch of salt. Maybe they are running 15 minutes, maybe it's a little bit less. I'm not entirely sure of that. You can see Jonathan Ellsworth there in the background coming out of the pit lane. Susie, I think you might have a few stories for us.
Yeah, so Jonathan's not been having such a good day. He's had problems with his alternator, I think, after one of the morning sessions. And so literally the car was just cutting out on circuit. So what they've actually done, and their plan, what they're going to do for the final, is just try to get like one hot lap in there. So they've charged, literally just walked past the car with the battery on charge. They're going to try and get one warm-up lap and one hot lap, and try and get that in before the car dies and have to come back into the track. They have a little bit of warning. I think they said the dials start failing before the car goes. So yeah, there's a few people just trying to get it out there for the final and trying to, just get the time to set to see if they can get on the podium.
It's like, the qualifying, we've discussed this earlier today, the qualifying isn't strictly speaking a qualifying as such. So you can not be in qualifying. I don't think Jonathan Ellsworth did any laps in qualifying.
No, he did not.
But you're still able to come out and do the final session of the day. So there we go. So he's going to try to charge it up, get a couple of laps under his belt before it dies. Interesting.
Well, it was either that or just literally finishing for the day. So, and actually on the screen we've got Andy York, and he's also having problems as well. They've got a hole in the radiator. They are losing fluid, so he's also trying to get it out for just one hot lap. They've probably got one lap in the car, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can just put in one flying lap during the final.
Yeah, I remember the same happened to me in Rockingham in 2019, I think, 2018, where it was literally just go out, try to limp it round for one lap, score some points, and then bring it in. I think I missed a big chunk of the day otherwise, but just you got to get those points in the bag. Samuel Pickering there just yielding that track position to David Dyson. Let's have a look at where we're at in terms of the lap time. So David Dyson right at the top of the leaderboard with a 1:18.4. ahead of James Dover in the Honda Integra Type R. So James Dover, I thought he was out of the running at one point.
James has also had a bit of a nightmare of a day. So James has also had his alternator go completely in the morning. They managed to find a replacement alternator from someone in the Civic Cup. So they've replaced that. Then they had a wire that was touching and cutting the car out. So they've managed to find that. So hopefully James can get out and really put in a flying lap in the final.
David Dyson there with an interesting move back onto the racing line just ahead of David Lawrence there. That was a pretty interesting move. Everyone coming out unscathed, so it's all good. It's interesting, you know, Jake, because James Dover has already had problems in the past where the Honda Civic Cup paddock has saved him.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty handy having it, you know, having a lot of parts being interchangeable between the cars has definitely helped him out.
Yeah, I think if you're here with a Honda and you're sharing the day with the Civic Cup, you've got spares for days. Worst case, if nobody's looking, just walk. I do not condone such things. That is a joke. Do not sue me. Ross.
Yeah, after having to replace the gearbox at Anglesey as well, he's not had the best of luck at all.
Yep. Ross Walker, then, you could see his timer is on the bottom of the screen, his lap timer now. Ross Walker currently sitting fastest of all with a 1:18.1 second lap. Meanwhile, Andrew Hawes goes fastest in his class. Let's see, Dean Taylor goes fastest in Club 4-wheel drive in the Mitsubishi Evo 7 with a 1:20. Ross Walker, meanwhile, going personal best in Sector 2. James Ramden fastest in his class, so everything going on here. David Dyson fastest in class. There we go, David Dyson. And then Ross Walker just behind that. You can see the two are running in formation. Ilya Krylov and David Lawrence just between them there. Oh my goodness, it is all happening. They are running in formation, so they're going to be putting in lap times one after the other in quick succession. Samuel Pickering now leapfrogging that whole bunch to go first of all with a 1:15.7, and you can see a car going very slowly there. That's the Subaru Impreza. Not sure which one. But there we go, that's just off the... Couldn't quite make out the details of the numbers. Screen's not very big, so sorry about that. So just yielding that track position, he could presumably see a massive pack closing in on him fast, and he thought, geez, I better get out of the way of this. Samuel Pickering, then you can see purple, meaning that he is leading his class in Sector 1, setting a class best Sector 1. There we go, Andrew Hawes, meanwhile, improving on his class best. There we go, so fastest in Clubman, Samuel Pickering. Oh, it's just all happening, isn't it? Chris Butcher, fastest in Clubman Plus. And meanwhile, let's see what Samuel Pickering can do. Is he able to improve? He has set a session fastest Sector 1, session fastest Sector 2 has Samuel Pickering. He is now going to come across the start-finish line. There is Ilya Krylov just crossing the line now, and Samuel Pickering is there he is. So let's see, he goes fastest of all with a 1:14.6, pulls out a 2-second lead over anybody else. Ross Walker in that BMW M4, who you saw talking to Susie a little bit earlier on, he's there with a 1:16.5, leading his class, Club 2-wheel drive, but second overall. Samuel Pickering then really in a league of his own right now, pulling out a massive lead, 2 whole seconds over the fastest car, and really miles ahead of anybody else. Samuel Pickering then absolutely on a roll.
So you can see in two-wheel drive, you've got Ross Walker, Johnny Fletcher has gone second now, David Dyson, so James Dover, these guys are all really, really close to each other.
Yeah.
They're running within 1 second of each other, 4 people, so.
Yeah, I mean, Club Two-Wheel Drive has always been super competitive in time attack, but this year looks especially so. And like Susie was just saying, all of these drivers within a second of each other. This is the final session. It could really go any way at this point. There's traffic involved. Whoever gets a clean lap, whoever manages to put together one fast lap could clinch this. Let's see Samuel Pickering then failing to improve in his sector time so far. Does not improve. You wonder whether he's just going to stay out. Headlights are still on, so he's going to try to put in another fast lap. There's quite a little pack of cars there. Ilya Krylov just at the back. Other cars coming out of the pit lane. Natalie Brooks there in that BMW M4. Whew. It's all happening. Meanwhile, the number 964 machine, one that we haven't seen loads of, that's Chrissy Martin in the GR Performance Subaru Impreza GC8, just ahead of Natalie Brooks there. Very, very different cars. Johnny Fletcher yielding position. You can see his headlights are not on right now. He is not on a hot lap. He is just, you saw him leaving the pits just then. He's just trying to warm everything up and hopefully try to slam in a couple of fast ones before the checkered flag comes out. We've got on the clock 5.5 minutes of this session remaining, but from what I understand, the session might be finishing early, so we've got that to look out for as well. Andrew Hall's going fastest in Clubman in that mini challenge 2:10.
Yeah, they were talking about removing the front anti-roll bar actually earlier, just to try and get a little bit more movement out of the front end. He was not happy with the car, but it seems like it's doing him well. Okay,
it's a circuit that really requires quite a specific setup. And of course, in these lower class cars like Clubman and Clubman Plus, your car is fairly close to standard, and you don't have a great deal of tweaking that you can do. So you're having to do stuff like removing the front roll bar, anti-roll bar, just to try to unlock a little bit more tuning there, a bit more chassis tuning than you'd have in, say, the pro cars where really everything is adjustable. Natalie Brooks had issues at past rounds. Seems like today she's had a pretty faultless day, so big credit to her and the Foster team. You can see the orange sector there at the bottom of your screen, meaning that she is leading her. That is a personal best. So the orange means personal best with this particular timing system that we've got on the screens now.
Yeah, I really hope she can just get a day where it doesn't have any problems with the car, so fingers crossed yeah, it keeps good for the final.
I mean, it is really being pushed above and beyond what a standard BMW M3 is comfortable doing, for the factory car. This is really, I mean, you could just see how big those brakes are as well. This is very far removed from its road-going counterpart. I think it was something like 600 horsepower and low boost or something insane. Andrew Kime going fastest of all in Pocket Rocket, a fight that we haven't looked at a great deal. And Andrew Kime then, we've got, let's just take a look, Eden Young having set 3 laps. So it looks like Eden Young in the Gizfab entry perhaps not actually taking part. You can see on the timing screens he is currently listed as being in the pits. So Pocket Rocket then down one competitor, one very popular competitor, in fact.
I know Eden was saying earlier, actually, he's having braking issues, and I think Donington is not particularly a circuit where you don't want any brakes. There's some very heavy braking zones in there, so yeah, hopefully you can get that fixed for the next season, for the next round. Yeah.
I think he's also looking to put in a lot more power by the time we come to the next rounds. So hopefully, you want to have the braking if you're going to be chasing power as well. David Dyson and Johnny Fletcher, both in Club Two-Wheel Drive, setting so far personal best sector ones. So with the final few minutes of this session, it's all to play for between this hotly contested Club Two-Wheel Drive. Walker from Dyson, from Fletcher, 0.7 seconds only between our Club Two-Wheel Drive front runners. Meanwhile, of course, Samuel Pickering 2 seconds clear of anybody. A bit of a walk in the park for him, it would seem. right now. And in fact, he is in the pits right now. So let's perhaps focus on the Club 2-wheel drive fight. Johnny Fletcher there, cocking a wheel in that Vauxhall Astra GSI. Everybody crossing the line. All of our 2-wheel drive runners, Club 2-wheel drive, still here together. And you can see Russ Walker being caught up in a little bit of traffic. So it'll be interesting to see whether he'll be able to set a lap, navigate around that traffic to find himself a little bit of clear track space in the final 2 minutes of this session. Chris Butcher slowing down a little bit. We saw, there we go, just getting out of the way, parking himself almost off that racing line. Team Confusion, meanwhile, a car that we haven't seen really loads of. We perhaps haven't covered Mike Sanford's entry loads today. Another very popular entrant in that number 99 Honda-powered Ford Fusion. You can see a little bit of crash damage on the back of that car. It did bring out a red flag earlier on in the day, and you can see there Sean Wheatley in the Perron Audi TT RS just getting out of his way as he makes his way. There we go.
So they have assured me everything is working fine with the Fusion. Everything is held together very well with gaffer tape at the moment at the back end. But yeah, it's always such a good team spirit around those guys.
Yep, and really, I mean, Team Confusion is one of my favorite stories, I think, of this year, considering the car has already been reshelled once, and to think they turned that around so quickly. I mean, their spirit, you just cannot extinguish the spirit of Team Confusion. Really, really admirable stuff. Andrew Hawes there in that Tarox supported Mini Challenge 210, one of only 210 examples of this car, and yet here it is being used to its full potential at Time Attack, despite being a relatively rare machine. So let's just see how these final lap times pan out then. The fight in Club 2-wheel drive remains Walker from Dyson from Fletcher.
And Sean O'Mara's in there as well, and ahead of James.
0.04 of a second between Walker and Dyson, and let's see Sean O'Mara there. Yep, also in the fight. So both of the Integra Type Rs of O'Mara and Dover. Checkered flag comes out, so these drivers are going to be looking to finish their final flying laps, and that's it. This is their last bite of the cherry.
As you see, James is out on his final lap, so hopefully doesn't get held up by traffic there. See what he can put in on his final lap.
Yep, getting around Steve Wilkinson in that Renault Sport Clio. Manages to make quick work of that, dispatches him, and is on his way to try to seal some kind of final improvement to his lap time, to that competitive order. Like Susie was saying, there is such a little gap, 1/10 of a second between O'Mara and Dover in their Honda Integra Type Rs. Chris Butcher, meanwhile, setting the fastest time in Clubman Plus in that Lexus ISF. Everybody pretty much having claimed that checkered flag. Meanwhile, David Dyson, it looks like, still out on a flying lap, actually. So he's got Sector 3 still to go. Johnny Fletcher taking the checkered flag as well. The Honda Integra, there we go. David Dyson then not finishing that flying lap. He's coming back into the pit lane. So it looks like Russ Walker then taking the win in Club 2-wheel drive by a mere 0.04. 3.5 hundredths of a second. So we all knew that fight was close between Russ Walker and David Dyson, but oh my goodness, 300ths of a second between those two.
Yeah, there's such a good battle going between the two. You know, the cars are different, but a similar kind of setup, the rear-wheel drive on them. So it's in the championship as well, they're very close.
Yep.
So it's really good to have, and I know the drivers always love it when they have someone who they're running really close against in the championship to give them a really good battle out on circuit.
Yep. And of course, Johnny Fletcher just behind them as well. Oh, so close to both of those. It would have been interesting. So where did Jonathan Ellsworth actually place?
Yeah, did he manage to actually set a flying lap?
Doesn't look like it.
Oh, that's a shame. He must have continued to have the technical issues.
Because we did see him moving around in the pit lane, but it doesn't even look like, I mean, unless I'm I just can't see his name on the timing screen at all. So
yeah, it's not been his day today either.
no. But, you know, massive credit for them for their backup plan of let's just charge up the battery, try to smash out one flying lap, take those points and call it a day. But it seems like they weren't even able to manage that, which is a shame. It's a shame.
Think this is the spirit of time attack, right? These guys are just keen to get out there, try and actually set a lap, and no matter what, you know. And there's great camaraderie in the pit lane. People always helping each other out, and you know, sometimes having to do slightly unconventional fixes and just do whatever is needed to try and set that one flying lap.
So there you go. Those are your club session results. That's Club 2-wheel drive. Ross Walker then taking that win by the smallest of margins. Look at that.
So close.
So close. 35 thousandths of a second, or 3.5 hundredths of a second between those two, just ahead of Johnny Fletcher there. Club 4-wheel drive, Samuel Pickering then takes that win by some margin. It's going to take a lot to displace him this year. He's really, really made it his own. Massive, massive kudos to him. Clubman then, Andrew Hawes, leads from Clive Hopwell. So Tim Bedford not representing here today in that Mazda RX-8. Clubman Plus is Butcher from Tom Moon. So Lexus ISF ahead of that Aggravation Racing Subaru Impreza. And then the Pocket Rocket final climb from Birch, from Sanford, from Krylov, Wilkinson, and then Eden Young in that Gizfab Micra. Not really managing to log a lap, as it would seem, but not really a proper flyer. I know he had a few ambitions coming into this round, and looks like they're going to have to be put on ice for now. And hopefully we can return to those at Brands Hatch or Snetterton towards the later part of the season. Meanwhile, you can see the pro cars lining up, ready to head out on track. And hopefully we'll be able to get this session underway shortly. Now, Susie, you mentioned something about unconventional fixes. Now, Paul Doyle in the BC Racing Subaru Impreza. What's going on there?
Yeah, so Paul Doyle earlier actually had a rather sizable hole in his gearbox. Now, that sounds like it should be the end of an event for someone, but they... When I last saw them, they were putting a bolt through the hole with a nut on the other side to keep that tight, and then putting window seal around that. So pretty much just anything they can do just to seal the gearbox, just to get out on track and see if it will run. And it still seems to be running, so they're out for the finals. So, you know, whatever it takes.
When did they do this?
They did that before qualifying.
Okay, and they got through qualifying.
Yep.
And so hopefully they'll get through the final as well.
It's not the fix I would recommend, but it's worked for them so far.
No. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we saw this car slowing down quite a lot earlier on. This is the number 820 machine of Graham Martin, that Subaru Impreza single round entry. We did see another one being recovered as well, which I think might have been, I thought that was Chrissy Martin's machine, but no. So I'm not sure. I did see another one being recovered. Couldn't say what car that was. It was right in the foreground as we were discussing Paul Doyle's machine. You could just see it being recovered there. So it looks like this recovery is going to take a couple of minutes as well. Now, they have at Donington, what is it called? It's got a bit of an unfortunate name. I think it's called a live snatch or something. So they don't just they don't do the usual recovery procedure here at Donington, from what I understand. They do a live snatch of a car and just deposit it somewhere else where it's safe, not necessarily trudging around the entire of the track at 2 miles an hour on the back of a recovery truck. So hopefully that means we can get things back underway. This is my understanding of the recovery process. I could be completely wrong. I don't really know. And actually, let's just try to bring up the feed, perhaps, because you might all be getting involved in the conversation, and we've been missing that. And perhaps you've got some nuggets of wisdom to contribute to this. So let's have a look at what you guys have been saying. By the way, of course, please do leave your comments and feedback and questions, all of that good stuff in the chat. And if we have a moment, we will try to come to your questions if we can. Bear in mind, this is the final, so there's a lot of important stuff happening, so don't be too salty if we can't get around to all of your comments. So Bethan, they're asking, what's the point of qualifying if it's just to get the fastest time? I'm confused. That's a really good question. It's a relevant one. And so, Beth, the qualifying session is called as such because back in the day when we had a slightly different format, massive entry lists, we did need to thin it out a little bit for the final shootouts. That's why we had a qualifying where only the top 10 or top whatever it was went through to the final. These days, the format's changed, but the name has remained. And also the qualifying does award points, unlike practice and warm-up. So the qualifying kind of gives it a bit of importance, a bit of clout to the name. So it's just to signify that this is an important session where you do qualify for points if you finish well. But yeah, I do understand it's a little bit confusing, but it's just a throwback to years gone by when the format was a little bit different. Good question. I can see Tim Bedford also getting involved in the comments, saying apologies, couldn't be there today, not been well. My favorite track, Tim Bedford, the Sideways RX-8, which is very, very true. LSR Motorsport saying, let's go, Lawrence. LSR Motorsport being David Lawrence's team. Nikki Long saying, Tim Bedford, gutted you weren't there, mate. Get well soon. Beverly Whiting, super proud of Stephen Wilkinson. Good to see, good to see. And here we go. The session is live then. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for getting involved. Keep it coming. And our cars then heading out on track. Darren Spooner at the front of that queue.
So you saw the car of Ben Robinson, and Ben's also been having some technical issues today. Speaking to him in the pits, it turns out after qualifying, they were having some boost cut issues, but it turned out after qualifying they found that the spark plugs were loose, perhaps all 6 of them. So they have tightened that up, so fingers crossed they can actually get some flying laps in there. I know Ben will be really keen to put some flying laps in and try and catch up Darren Spooner.
A few cars behind Ben's was the little yellow Renault Sport Megane, but it's not your normal garden variety Megane that you might see in Tesco. So do you know much about what's going on there?
Yeah, it's definitely not your average Megane. That is a Megane Trophy Cup car, I believe. It is a rear-engine V6 rear-wheel drive. So yes, a little bit different to your average Megane. Pretty much nothing resembling a normal Megane in that car at all.
But I think that isn't a DIY job, right? That's a factory built race car.
Built, for a factory race series.
It's so cool. And this is, I think since throwing open the rule book to allow competition cars and purpose-built, very bespoke race cars, they are permitted in Time Attack as well. Especially in our GT3 sports car and prototype class. And it's so cool to see these race cars of years gone by be given a second lease of life here in Time Attack. Awesome. Interesting to see that Clio Megane is in the Pro Extreme class and not GT sports car and prototype, which is where I'd normally expect to see it. But I guess being a space frame or whatever it was, I guess that's just the class it falls into naturally.
Yeah, I assume it's not quite GT3 level. It's from a kind of around 2013. So yeah, it's maybe a little bit less powerful than a GT3 car.
Such a cool looking thing as well. Awesome car.
Yeah, but I think the only one in the UK as well.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Okay, that's really cool.
And it's their first time out on it, on track with it today. So yeah, that's.
Okay.
So, again, a steep learning curve, but trying to take it home in one piece.
I think Peter Smith looked a little bit tentative earlier on.
I don't blame him if it is the first time on track in that car. He wants to bring it home in one piece.
There's only one in the UK, right?
There's only one in the UK. There are no off-the-shelf parts for that car. So, yeah, bringing it home intact is the main aim for that.
So Colin Dorwood, he's been very quick all day, very, very quick. You can see how hard he's pushing there, going over those curbs there, very much outside of the track limits.
Colin is just, I mean, he'd never been to Brands Hatch, and then he come to Brands Hatch and set our fastest time. He'd never been to Donington. This is his first time out at Donington.
Okay.
he's turned up, and obviously he's setting the fastest times of the day. It seems to be his thing. If he's never been to a track before, he's going to turn up and set the fastest time.
Yep. And he's he's been lapping in the 1:10 earlier. So I'd be interested to see whether he's got anything left in his sleeve, some extra boost.
He thinks he can get under 1:10, so it'd be really interesting to see if he can do that in the final.
Okay. So there you go. That's Paul Doyle's car, still with gearbox.
Still with nut through the gearbox and some sealing that up.
So it's good to see that that's still running. Darren Spooner then, let's have a look. So Colin Dorward, yes, very fast. There we go, Paul Doyle then, having just displaced Darren Spooner. Darren Spooner was, until a few seconds ago, the fastest. Paul Doyle, that nut and bolt and window sealant fix, doing such a great job that he is currently running fastest of anyone so far. Bearing in mind, we have seen Colin Dorward go a fair bit faster than that. He's just yet to unleash that pace. And of course, you've got to find the track space to be able to do that. You've got to be able to navigate the traffic. So nothing is ever a given here in Time Attack. And of course, these cars are so highly strung. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. So let's see. It'll be interesting to see. Paul Doyle, then fastest of all so far with a 1:12.9. Fails to improve on his fastest time so far in Sector 1. So let's see how that goes. Darren Spooner then currently second fastest overall in the Peugeot 205 with a 1:13.4. Oh, never mind. Andrew Barber has just gone fastest of anyone so far with a 1:12.4. Scott Carruthers, meanwhile, jumping to the top of Pro two-wheel drive in that Mazda RX-7, that Honda-powered FD3S. Steve Henson leading his class. Ian Pittman setting the fastest time in his own class as well. And we're going to see, as the timer ticks towards the bottom, these lap times are going to fall as well, or at least one would hope. And the back of that Mitsubishi Evo looking a little bit smoky. I'm no Evo expert, but I'm pretty sure they're not meant to do that.
That is not healthy. That does not look good.
Let's see which... the number 127, that's Bradley John's car. Okay, single round entry in theory, but he's been doing a lot of single round entries this year. So it's good to see Bradley John there back with us, but looking a little bit smokier than one might like. Looks like it's cleared up. Oh, kind of cleared up, a little bit cleared up. Roman Grandel, massive flames out of the side of that thing. Very, very cool. Andrew Barber goes fastest of anyone so far, I believe, with a 1:11.8. Yep, that puts him right up at the top. That Evo then of Bradley John looking rather smoky. Mind you, he's setting personal bests in sectors 1 and 2. That's what the orange little stripes mean at the bottom of your screen. 3 bars corresponding to 3 sectors here. Steve Henson going fastest of all in GT3 sports car prototype, but I think he might be the only one in this class running in this particular session. And you can see everyone going a little bit wide there.
Yeah, and Bradley John's just set the second fastest time, so I mean, hopefully the car is okay. Maybe it's just running a little on the rich side.
Yep, Colin Doyle, there we go. Colin Doyle with a 1:09. So
amazing,
there we go,
yeah.
there we go.
So he did have it in him, brilliant.
Did he suggest whether that's more power, or is it he just had a bit more skill left in him?
I think he said just hooking up the perfect lap. You know, he's never been to the circuit before, just obviously knowing when to kind of like go flat out, when to kind of like hold a little bit back. So, you know, he's saying he's flat out through preludes, and as anyone will know, that can be a little bit of a scary experience. So it's really good to see him go into the 109s. That car is yeah, a complete weapon.
And I know a few people have corrected me in the past. It's down on my entry list as an Evo 9.
It's definitely not an Evo 9. It is an Evo 5.
Evo 5. Evo 5. There we go.
I had to clarify with him earlier if it was a 5 or 6, but it is a 5. Yes.
And we got a great shot of Stuart Sims earlier on in the green Mitsubishi Evo 6 with a rather flappy looking bonnet, which is not what you want.
He's also not having a good day. I think he thinks he's got head gasket issues, so yeah, I'm not sure we're going to see a great time out of him today, but yeah, hopefully just kind of like holding on to get a place in the final. Okay.
I mean, that's often the story of Time Attack, isn't it? Where so many people are just trying to nurse various issues to the final. Loads of flames coming out of this. If that's intentional, if the car is meant to run like that, I know we're talking about a lot of people having issues, and if Roman Grandel's car is not having issues, that's how it's meant to run, with all those awesome flames coming out of the side. That's very, very cool. There you go, Jeff Kershaw then in that Ford Focus all-wheel drive. The boss man of Turbo Technics, which today celebrates its 40th anniversary. We discussed this a little bit earlier on, but you know, all of us who are into cars, into tuning, turbochargers, you know, we owe a lot to Turbo Technics. We owe a lot to Jeff Kershaw as well. He was really one of the first to see that potential and to specialize in bringing turbos, turbo upgrades, turbo conversions to the masses. And he's celebrating the 40th anniversary of his company, Turbo Technics, this year. So thank you very much, Jeff Kershaw. Just you could see him a little bit earlier on lapping out there in his Club Pro four-wheel drive Ford Focus. Steve Henson then in that 996 GT3 Cup car, making its way through turn one. Car that we've seen a lot of in Time Attack. And just taking a look across at Colin Dorward's times to see whether he's managed to improve on his best time. I don't think he has yet.
It didn't look like he was out in a flying lap though, so I imagine he's going to go out there, let the car cool down a little bit, and then see if he can get another flying lap in before the end of the session.
Okay, because both sectors 1 and 2 are not personal bests, so I guess, yeah, he's cooling it off for another attack lap.
Yeah, and just trying to find some space on track as well to, you know, really be able to kind of like get that flying lap in and not to hit any traffic while you're going round. It's quite tricky out there.
It is. And, you know, for me, that's part of the excitement, that's part of the challenge of Time Attack, is trying to navigate that traffic while you're trying to set your hot laps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different cars in different classes, you know, different performance cars out there. So yeah, and obviously Colin being one of the fastest cars on track, he's going to catch people pretty quickly. So he needs that space before he can get a good run. Yep.
And so I know a few of you complained at Anglesey at the lack of engine noises, but you can really hear some of this, so especially as we're following the Renault Megane around with that V6, with that sequential gearbox, I think. I think that's what I can hear. It sounds six-cylindery, whatever it is. Presumably it's this.
It's a Nissan V6 in that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, naturally aspirated Nissan V6.
Oh, that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. So you can hear it. You can now hear it in glorious HD, whatever it is that sound, good sound is transmitted in. Even though we're right next to an airport, you know, the planes aren't making too much of a racket like the wind was at Anglesey, so we're able to capture some of that engine noise. Yep, there you go. So Scott Carruthers in that number 242 Honda-powered FD3S RX-7. One of the only Mazdas that we have in Time Attack this year. There goes, he goes fastest in class with a 1:13.
Yeah, he's having a great day on track today.
Yeah.
Some stonking times out of him.
Yep. Oh, great flame out of the back of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a car to upset the purists with no rotary engine in that.
Yeah, but at least he didn't LS swap it. So I think, you know, he kept that high revving, torqueless, super frantic nature with swapping to a Honda K-Series. So he didn't go down the lazy, easy route of an LS. So, you know, it's not the purest way to approach this formula, but he managed to keep it at least a little bit racy. So that's pretty cool. And back, you know, at one point when I first encountered this car, you know, it's so high revving that I almost thought, okay, maybe this could still be a rotary. You know, I don't really know, because you could really hear it revving out, hitting those big revs, you know, 8,000 and above, and I thought maybe this is still a rotary. It sounds a bit strange, but maybe it is. I could believe that. And then it turned out it was a K series, K24, K20, whatever. There you go. There are the planes. You can hear the planes now. So he's kept some of that nature. Anyway, let's have a look at our lap times. So Colin Dorward still lapping off his best. So the last time was a 1:32. So he's cooling that car down, perhaps trying to find a bit of track space to punch in a few more fast laps before the checkered flag falls. Steve Henson with his headlights ablaze, telling everybody, get out of my way, I am on a fast lap. But of course the problem is, if anyone else is on a fast lap ahead of him, they do not need to yield. So you can see that Mitsubishi Evo with no lights on, that's being blue flagged for Steve Henson to make his way past. Jeff Kershaw, I can't quite work out what those lights are. Are they daytime running lights or are they headlights? Guess they're daytime running lights. There you go. He's coming out. He's coming off the track into the pit lane is Jeff Kershaw. Perhaps that is the end of his running. We've got 1 minute left, so there's no point coming back out. So that's that for the king of Turbo Technics. That's the end of his running. Andrew Barber there taking loads of curb, kicking up a nice cloud of dust in the number 88 AKB racing machine. That Mitsubishi Evo 9, and you can see his headlights are now on. He is going to try to see how fast he can go in these closing seconds of the session, and he is right on the tail of, would you believe it, Colin Dorward. So they're riding right next to each other, making their way through that traffic, just trying to thread their way around that Evo, around that Renault Sport Megane V6 as they come into turn 1. The checkered flag is going to fall this lap, so they have this lap and this lap only to put in their final fast lap and pray that the traffic works out in their favor. Or of course, perhaps they have strategically positioned themselves in such a way as to catch some clean lap time. You can see Andrew Barber just really grabbing loads of curb and kicking up that dust wherever he goes.
You can see these are the two fastest cars out on track, and so they're following each other, seeing if there's any. They're just going for this last lap before the clock counts down. So let's see what sort of lap times. See if Colin can throw in a lap at the last minute that will beat his time.
Well, he's gone fastest in sector 1, fastest of all, and set a personal best speed trap 1. So Colin Dorward is out for blood right now, and we have the checkered flag is out, but of course he can still finish this time lap, and he has gone fastest in sector 1, fastest in sector 2. He has a lot of pace still in him as he comes across the line. 1:08.5. Oh my goodness,
that's an amazing time. So yeah, it just needed to hang everything all together, and what an amazing time there.
Yep, Andrew Barber also improving on his best. So both of these drivers, of course, finishing first in their respective classes, Pro Extreme and BC Racing Pro 4-wheel drive. Colin Dorward also then taking the overall crowns for fastest car on track in Time Attack today with a 1:08.5 second lap. And so he told Susie he had some pace still in him, and he did not lie.
Yeah, so it literally looks like he's gone out, set 2 hot laps in that session, and both of them have been, you know, kind of the lap records.
Very, very fast. So there we go. So I think everyone's kind of just chilling out now. You can see Colin Dorward waving out of the window, I think. He knows he's done a good job.
Yeah, he'll definitely be happy with that. It's not bad turning up to a circuit if you've never driven it before and coming away with a time like that.
I mean, what an achievement. That is a phenomenal car, and of course, great driving as well. Leon Chanter saying in the comments, I want to see Team Thunderwood again. That's my team when we used to do Time Attack. Gizfab then carrying on that. So let's see. So those are our results. Everyone here loving the comments. Going to guess them again as a VQ35.
So Ben managed to pull a lap out then. So he did manage to fix these issues and come in front of Darren Spooner there.
Awesome, awesome, awesome work there from Ben Robinson. Come on, Dorward and Barber, says Kenny Brooks in the comments. Superb. Kenny Brooks did 1 minute and 8 seconds years ago, I know, on a very bad day. So there we go. So even our we've got some very fast viewers as well as some very fast drivers as well. So there are the lap times for your viewing pleasure. Scott Carruthers then at the top of his class, Pro 4-wheel drive, then Andrew Barber at the top of Pro 4-wheel drive. Whew, it's a pretty action-packed day.
Chris Jerry coming top of his class as well, and I know he had issues, so he'll be happy with that result as well.
Do you know why the Jeff Alden car has got the new front end of a newer Golf and an old back end of an older Golf?
Apparently it is an ex-VW Volkswagen Cup car. I don't know why it has a different front end. I didn't ask that, but yeah, it's an old Cup car from the racing series, and obviously they've discontinued that series now. So
Cool.
finding a place to race in Time Attack.
Yes, exactly. And that's it. Time Attack is a place for everybody to come and be themselves. All cars are welcome, all drivers are welcome, and that has been another great day here at Donington Park. So thank you very much to everybody, all of our drivers, spectators, Susie, of course, in the commentary box with me, the TV crew as well. And it's just been another great day. So all the results will be published on the Time Attack website, and we've got to sign off. And yeah, thank you for viewing.
Thanks very much, Alexi.
And thanks, Susie, and good night.